A great welcome to you, all our viewers, to the link this week. We continue getting feedback from you out there in the field, which means that you do watch and we do present things that you can use. And we promise to keep giving you information you can use and opportunities. And tonight we're discussing an issue of mental health. Somebody asked me one time, how can you discuss mental health on the link? But wait till you hear what we are going to say, and then you will say, okay, why mental health? This Thursday of this week is going to be World Mental Health Day. And the theme for this day is going to be mental health at the workplace. Workplace means wherever you go to work. And therefore the mental health situation that you experience well at that workplace matters. And tonight we're discussing toxicity at the workplace. Before we go into what it is, let me introduce my guest. Tonight my guest is Miss Suzan Tashobya, and she's a counseling psychologist from Rapport Counselling. Suzan, welcome back.
Thank you.
I say welcome back because you've been here before.
I know, thank you so much, Samuel, for such an opportunity once again.
All right.
Thank you.
Our time is not too much, so I go straight to the question. Toxicity at work, what constitutes toxicity? Especially if we see it from the standpoint of I am a manager, I'm a supervisor, I'm the owner of a business. What is toxicity?
In the first place, we look at toxicity at the workplace as something that is negative, antagonistic, and bullying culture that is baked into the very culture of the place. And this definitely has an impact on the employees. They get stressed because many times there's limited communication. There's an attitude culture where people are not safe and free to express themselves, and that becomes very, very bad for their mental health. Okay.
Before we go to the question of manifestations of toxicity, and you have touched a bit of that. If I'm in a toxic work environment as a worker, how can my mental health be affected, for instance?
If you are in an environment that is toxic, your mental health can be affected in various ways. For instance, you can get stressed beyond the capacity you have to manage the stress, and then it progresses into mental health illnesses or disorders like anxiety. We have panic attacks, people getting into panic attacks. People get phobias. You think about coming to work because of the environment, that throws you into a panic. That throws you into excessive fear, which we call phobia. So a workplace that is toxic definitely affects an individual or the employee's mental health, and that may affect their abilities to utilize their full potential and be productive at the very workplace, and also productive in their communities and not contribute positively.
Absolutely. So it's important for the workplace to be as less toxic or even zero toxicity as possible.
Oh yes, for them to be able to thrive at their workplace.
Okay.
It's very important.
What are the things, and let's start with the managers and supervisors that create toxicity at a workplace, in a factory, in my business, in the office, etc.?
Yeah, that's a very important aspect actually, because many times employees suffer under the misconduct or behaviors of their supervisors or managers or even business owners, because I mean, these are the untouchables. You cannot report your supervisor, you can't report your manager.
You can't fire them.
You can't fire them. Instead, if you raise your voice, you'll be looked at as a problematic employee, and that affects them. So back to your question, how does that affect the workplace? For instance, if we have a business supervisor or a manager who does not listen to his employees or his supervisors, that's a very big problem, because there is a gap between him and the people they supervise, and therefore people cannot be able to approach you and bring out or share their grievances to be addressed by you, because there is no relationship. And so that affects the entire business. And so everyone operates the way they can and the way they feel they are safe to survive in such an environment, which definitely impacts on the business. Yeah. Also, where there's a blame culture, many times these are people who are way above their subordinates, and so even when there's something wrong they have done, they cannot be, an employee cannot come up and say, Mr. Sir, you have done A, B, C, D, because you blame your mistakes onto the subordinates. And that, of course, affects how they feel towards you, how they feel towards the entire business, and therefore, they will leave it at that. And the
supervisor is never wrong.
He's never wrong. If we remember back in the days when we was in school, whenever the teacher made a mistake and they reported you to your parents, they would say you are the one in the wrong.
The teacher has to be right.
So you have no space or audience to express your grievances. And that affects how someone works, because it demotivates them. And if they are demotivated, you may not get, or you will not get the best out of them as employees. Lack of policies.
Absolutely.
Sometimes there are no clear policies in these workplace environments where someone can be able to, tag whatever they are doing to. For example, no clear reporting lines. The way you recruit, you find someone is recruiting their relatives, their friends, their girlfriends, boyfriends, etc. And so if you bring in such people within the workplace, that means it's going to be very hard for you to supervise them, and therefore they may be toxic to even the people they have found within the organization, because they will have
dotted lines to you than
these other people who have been there. And then, of course, that affects the entire business. We also have lack of communication. I've already talked about it. That's very key. If, for instance, a manager does not have clear channels of communication, or people are not free to approach them, there's no open door policy where someone can walk into your office and say, Mr. ABCD is happening, then that means you're not going to get feedback from the people you supervise. They are not going to also get feedback from you to be able to support them. And do their work effectively. And that, of course, affects the business at the end of the day. And then that's where the culture now comes in of, this place is toxic. We can't talk. If you talk, the windows and the walls have ears, so everyone keeps to themselves and does whatever they have, and eventually that's where you find there's a high turnover at the workplace, because people are running away from the toxicity that is in that kind of environment where they are working from.
Okay, Susan, and there's the instance of bosses or heads of department fighting.
Oh, yes.
How toxic can that be?
Well, if there's something like that, there's a clash between the departments, and also the people below them will definitely suffer, especially if they are interconnected, that the work I do is related to what's
into another department.
Into another department. So you find that the people, the employees, are finding it very difficult to get clear instructions on how to do their work, and the reporting lines, like I mentioned, because boss AB is saying I need ABC, and then this supervisor is saying this is my department, and so they may actually use their subordinates to fight their internal fights as managers, which is of course not good. At the end of the day, you're making these employees clash with the other supervisor, or you're getting blamed for what you have not done that you are supposed to do, and that stresses the employees.
Okay, I know time is running out on us. We were supposed to touch a little bit of sexual networks, and but we will not go there today. Since we have touched those issues that cause toxicity, the takeaway of those listening and having companies as businesses are wondering, how do I create an environment where there is as less toxicity or zero as possible?
They need to, first of all, know what toxicity is, which we've tried to define at the start, and also now look into the points we've talked about. Open communication lines within the organization. Do not think about this idea from your bedroom and bring it to the boardroom and down to the people. You need to share these ideas, buy into what people think. Their people will think, or the employees will think valued, and will be motivated to thrive and continue performing their duties. So ideas should be shared for guidance. Sometimes you can come up with an idea. It may not necessarily work as you think, but when you impose it on people, you may think it is working, and yet it is creating toxicity down there. Stop blaming people. Managers need to
But
learn
what if they do wrong?
Yes, but we also need to learn to take blame where we have faulted, so that it doesn't look as if it's only the people below us that make these mistakes. Because when the blame game starts, then it affects the employees. Then we also need to have clear policies, well spelled out. If, for instance,
same standard for everyone,
no favoritism, no attitudes when it comes to how employees are doing their things and how they relate with you, that will help. We also need to think about respect. We need to think about respect. When you respect your employees as a business person or as a manager, then you're going to get positive energy out of that. Employees need to be motivated. Motivate them. For example, every month you can say we are going to appreciate every department or each department that has done well. That is good and motivating, and people will start to feel appreciated and also love the organization or the industry where they are working.
I want to continue this conversation, but I can't because of time. I always complain about this. Hopefully one day we shall find a solution. Thank you very much, Suzan, for this. If you're a business owner, you're a manager, supervisor, toxicity at the workplace can eat into your productivity and you suffer because of a bad culture. Why are we talking about this? Thursday this week is the World Mental Health Day, and the focus today is on mental health at the workplace. And for us, we have discussed toxicity. We hope you have a better working place and a working environment. That was the link. Thank you for joining us tonight.